On the 6th of March 2007, a user by the name of Wizard343 posted a thread on the weird US message board titled "Derelict Plastic Factory in Branchburg, NJ." The post described an industrial park in Neshanic Station which used to manufacture colored plastics in the 1950s, but had since been abandoned, and became a hotspot for urban explorers ever since. The user included a variety of pictures he took while exploring, documenting the variety of strange and elusive relics left behind, the most notable of which was this: a derelict yet fully intact tank sitting inside the second floor of the factory. This post was the first known documentation of what came to be known as the Tank of Neshanic Station. Since then, the Tank of Neshanic Station has become a legend among urban explorers, with many users posting pictures of the tank to websites such as Reddit and other online forums. But among all of them, one question remains: how in the hell did it get there? Technically, the vehicle in question isn't really a tank. The vehicle operates using wheels instead of treads, making it an armored car as opposed to a conventional tank. However, for simplicity's sake, we will continue referring to the vehicle as a tank. For identifying the vehicle, our first clue can be found on its backplate, where we can see the word Paris as well as French writing. The backplate also includes the vehicle's make and model. Using this information as well as cross-referencing images and speculation provided by others, we can safely determine that the vehicle in question is a Panhard AML-90, a French armored car. Panhard, the vehicle's manufacturer, was later purchased by Renault Trucks, which was then merged into the Arcus Defense conglomerate. This means that finding original records for this specific vehicle is next to impossible. I tried multiple times to contact Arcus's corporate headquarters, but unsurprisingly, they never responded. From what we do know, the AML-90 mostly saw service in France as well as South Africa, and was never used once by the United States military. This means that a private individual would have had to purchase the tank and have it shipped overseas. There's little obvious reason why somebody would choose to do this, let alone why they would leave it to rust in a crumbling factory, but the answer may lie in the factory itself. There is a lot more going on in this factory than just the tank. It is home to a plethora of bizarre features and relics, very few of which have any apparent explanation. Aside from the tank, the other vehicles housed in this factory include a Corvette, an unidentified Rolls-Royce, a tractor, and a vintage car, possibly from the 1920s. Additionally, several dozen engine blocks were stored in the building, at least one of which was a Rolls-Royce engine. There's a camouflage cell tower still in operation on the premises. One of the tower's fake tree limbs actually fell off, which now rests on the factory's ground level. There's also an old cemetery, with headstones dating as far back as 1802. It's possible that even older headstones exist, but with so many of them weathered beyond readability, it's difficult to tell. The history of these relics are mostly unknown, but the factory itself is rather well documented. In the Wizard's original forum post, he gave some details about the area's history, which combined with information gathered from other sources, paints a fairly clear picture. Constructed in the 1950s, the factory was originally built to manufacture colored paint, but as the process for mixing paints became simpler, the facility quickly became obsolete. In order to save the factory, it was converted into a processing plant for colored plastics. Most notably, it produced vast quantities of colored spaghetti, a term used to describe the plastic sheaths used in cables and electrical wires. As the Wizard put it, the plant ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and had a bustling traffic pattern of approximately 25 to 30 tractor trailers per day, in and out, every day of the year. The operation ran full steam from 1960 until the very last plastic pellet was melted just as the 90s rolled in." End quote. After it was abandoned, the complex was acquired by new developers, who sought to renovate the facility and turn it into a new business. It's at about this point in the timeline when the Wizard made his first post. According to him, the developers were kind enough to let him take photographs of the property before any construction began. He doesn't make any mention of who these developers were, or what the project they were working on was. Which begs the question, if the property was going to be renovated, what happened? To this day, the facility is more run down than ever. Graffiti is plastered all over the walls, and there's no renovations in sight. Thankfully, the Wizard does provide some details about the renovation efforts. Quote, "The dormant facility will soon have new life, with tenants slated to move in as early as spring of 2007. 460 new trees and shrubs will have been planted, and the painting will continue, as will the installation of 756 panes of blue glass for all the windows in need of a renovated look." And, true to his word, the pictures taken of the facility do show new windows and freshly painted walls. And if you go visit the site today, you'll see all the fully grown trees that were planted here over a decade ago. But there's also something missing. While all of the improvements, the 756 panes of glass, while visible in many of the pictures taken by the Wizard, are now mysteriously absent from the factory. It's not like they were broken either, they were completely removed, frame and all. So far, every single piece of information has opened up more questions than answers. At this point in our investigation, we didn't think we'd end up solving anything by the end of it. That is, until we met a pair of locals near the facility who gave us the missing piece we needed to complete the puzzle.
So as far as we know, the man, I think his name is Samuel Ornstein, who bought this whole area with the house and the factory and was planning on converting it into some kind of new building for cars and stuff. And according to the stuff we found, he ran out of money and then wasn't able to finish any of it. Also, the reason that there's all these vehicles in the tank, and if you go look in the windows of the house, you can see that there's all still stuff in there, is because apparently he was taken to jail, and then I think he's out now, but he's not been here since then.
What did you say his name was?
Samuel Ornstein.
Finally, at long last, we have a name: Samuel Ornstein. Supposedly, he's the one behind the factory's unusual history, and he has quite a unique background himself. I was able to call him and ask for some information, though he wasn't willing to discuss everything. Ornstein was happy to provide additional background information as well as history regarding the property, but unfortunately was unwilling to disclose anything else. He stated that he didn't want to shed light on the area because he believed it would encourage vandals. Later, he sent me a text message saying he was ordered by the Branchburg police to not discuss the facility with me. However, I have reason to believe this is a lie. In all of our conversations, Ornstein was extremely hesitant to give details, and even lied about details concerning the factory. When I asked him about the other vehicles beside the tank, he stated that there were no other vehicles, which was an easily disprovable claim. When I specifically pointed out the vehicle models and their locations, he quickly brushed it off and changed the subject. Other than that, it is unlawful for the police to prevent an individual from speaking to somebody else in a manner which does not violate the law. It seems far more likely that Ornstein made it up in order to avoid speaking about the property, especially considering the highly sensitive legal issues surrounding it. In 1999, Ornstein would come to acquire the LLC Branchburg Commerce Park, which was the business he used in order to acquire the property which houses the factory. Ornstein planned to renovate the property for a new business. However, his acquisition came with a slew of legal battles, both personal and for business, that severely hindered the project, the first of which came with a prison sentence. On June 8, 2005, Ornstein was arrested for falling asleep behind the wheel on a highway intersection and speeding off when confronted. Ornstein was charged and convicted with third-degree eluding an officer, which carries a prison sentence of 3 to 5 years. Ornstein submitted an appeal for this conviction in 2008, but it was denied. On February 29th of 2008, Ornstein was ordered by the court to pay over $42,000 in damages to Turner Resources and Stephen Tellini, according to public record. Unfortunately, there is no public documentation of what the lawsuit was for, and I received a less than friendly response from Stephen Tellini's household when attempting to contact him. I'm looking for Stephen Tellini?
Who's calling?
Information regarding a property in Neshanic Station, New Jersey.
We have no property in that area. Goodbye.
Once again, Ornstein attempted to appeal this claim, but was denied on March 4, 2009. Interestingly enough, one of the rules cited in the judge's decision was Rule 211-3, or the, quote, "that's ridiculous" rule. So God only knows what that was in reference to. But the lawsuits didn't stop there. The property was also involved in lawsuits against 2 separate insurance companies, one of which cited Ornstein in its documentation. The first of which was filed in 2015, and the latter was filed in 2020. And finally, the most recent lawsuit, filed just over a month ago as of this recording on March 5th, 2021. It involves an ongoing appeal made by Apex Mortgage Ltd., the company which loaned Ornstein and friends money for the property. Allegedly, Apex attempted to improperly repossess and sell the property on the grounds that the LTD the property was filed under did not have the right to conduct business in New Jersey. The LTD in question, Tri-State Motorplex, is owned by Samuel Ornstein's son, Michael Ornstein, and a New Jersey realtor, Andrew Sprecher. This is evidenced by public property records, which state that one of the units previously belonging to Ornstein was sold in 2020 to a separate company by Apex Mortgage. This latest case has not yet been settled, and it is unclear when a definitive answer will arise. So after all of that, all the history, police chases, lawsuits, insurance claims, and property violations, what was it all for? What's with all the vehicles? Why did Samuel Ornstein want this factory so bad? Well, I'm happy to say that we finally have an answer. Hidden Valley Motorplex, Ornstein's grand design for the derelict plastic factory in Neshanic Station, New Jersey. A condominium complex for high-end motor vehicles and their enthusiasts. This facility was meant to be fully redone from the ground up, and as shown by the concept art, this was an extremely ambitious project. A luxury motorplex, a project that would no doubt cost millions of dollars and decades of work. As it turns out, Ornstein and his company were responsible for the initial renovations back in 2007, the same company that the Wizard mentioned in his post. But these renovations bankrupted him, forcing him to shut down efforts until he could acquire more funding. But unfortunately, it never happened. Even as Ornstein attempted to relaunch the project, claiming that the motorplex would be open in 2017, this deadline was not met. Ornstein still owns this property, and has told me that he's still trying to acquire funding for this dream project of his. But from the looks of it, his ideas may never come to fruition. But at long last, we have our answer. All of the engine blocks, luxury cars, and automotive anomalies finally make sense. They were all set pieces, decor for a high-end vehicle showroom, something to impress people. And what could be more impressive than a massive decommissioned tank? Every single piece fits. The timeline, the private purchaser, the adjacent vehicles, the abandoned renovations. We can finally say why this tank was here. This was Samuel Ornstein's vision, and I've gotta say, I think it would have worked. After all, what's the one thing that keeps bringing people to this factory? Abandoned buildings are scattered all over the country. It's not difficult to find one. There are plenty of interesting places to explore. Hospitals, churches, schools, etc. But out of all of them, there's only one factory in the world home to the tank of Neshanic Station, New Jersey. Thank you all for watching.